In 1977, a strange signal interrupted TV broadcasts. It begins with the unexplained, a phenomenon that has puzzled experts for decades, and one such event occurred in the summer of 1977, in the town of Taos, New Mexico. Residents of Taos reported hearing a low-frequency humming noise, often described as sounding like a distant diesel engine, which seemed to emanate from nowhere. The hum was loud enough to be heard both indoors and outdoors, and its source was never identified, despite numerous investigations by local authorities and experts from nearby Los Alamos National Laboratory. The hum continued to be reported for several years, with some residents claiming it caused headaches and sleep disturbances, but the one detail that has never been explained is the hum's apparent ability to be heard by only a select portion of the population, with some people able to hear it clearly while others could not hear it at all. This type of unexplained broadcast is not unique to Taos, as similar events have been reported in other parts of the world, such as the town of Bristol, England, in the 1980s. In Bristol, residents reported receiving strange, unexplained radio broadcasts on their home radios, which seemed to originate from an unknown station. The broadcasts were described as being in a foreign language, and were often accompanied by strange, eerie music. The source of the broadcasts was never identified, and the one detail that has never been explained is the fact that the broadcasts seem to be specifically targeted at individual homes, with each household receiving a unique transmission. In another incident, in the early 2000s, a mysterious broadcast was intercepted by a shortwave radio enthusiast in the United States, who reported hearing a strange, automated voice transmission on a frequency typically used by the U.S. military. The transmission, which came to be known as the A1Z26 broadcast, consisted of a series of numbers and letters being read in a monotone voice, and was heard by several other radio enthusiasts around the world. The source of the transmission was never identified, and the one detail that has never been explained is the fact that the transmission seemed to be using a complex encryption system, which has never been cracked despite numerous attempts by experts. In the realm of unexplained radio phenomena, one notable event occurred in Croydon, England, in 1970, when a family reported receiving a series of strange radio broadcasts on their home radio set. The broadcasts, which lasted for several weeks, featured a woman's voice speaking in a language that none of the family members could understand. The one detail that has never been explained is the fact that the broadcasts seemed to be tailored to the family's personal lives, with the woman's voice often referencing specific events and people that were known only to the family. The case of the Numbers stations, which originated in the 1950s, is another example of unexplained radio transmissions. These mysterious broadcasts, which were picked up by radio operators around the world, featured a disembodied voice reading out sequences of numbers in a monotone voice. The broadcasts were often accompanied by strange musical tones and other sound effects. One notable example of a Numbers station was the Swedish Rhapsody station, which was active in the 1980s and featured a woman's voice reading out numbers to the tune of a jaunty melody. The one detail that has never been explained is the purpose behind these broadcasts, which have been speculated to be everything from espionage communications to experimental art projects. The WOW signal, detected in 1977 by a radio telescope at Ohio State University, is a further example of an unexplained radio phenomenon. The signal, which lasted for 72 seconds and was picked up by a radio telescope tuned to a frequency of 1420 MHz, was so strong that it was dubbed the WOW signal by the astronomer who discovered it. The one detail that has never been explained is the fact that the signal has never been detected again, despite numerous attempts to verify its existence. The signal's origin and meaning remain a mystery, and it continues to be the subject of speculation and debate among astronomers and scientists. In the world of radio communication, there exist frequencies that are not assigned to any particular station or broadcaster, yet they still transmit signals. One such instance occurred in the town of Taos, New Mexico, in the 1990s, where residents began reporting a low-frequency humming noise that seemed to emanate from nowhere. The hum, which was described as sounding like a distant diesel engine, was detected on a wide range of frequencies, but its origin could not be pinpointed. Despite numerous investigations, the source of the Taos hum remains unknown, and it continues to be a topic of discussion among acoustic experts. The phenomenon of unexplained signals is not limited to terrestrial frequencies, as evidenced by the case of the Russian woodpecker, a series of radio signals that were detected in the 1970s and 1980s. These signals, which were characterized by a repetitive woodpecker-like pattern, were transmitted on a variety of shortwave frequencies and were detected by radio operators around the world. The signals were believed to have originated from a Soviet military installation, but the purpose of the transmissions was never officially disclosed, and the exact nature of the signals remains a mystery. As we delve deeper into the realm of ghost frequencies, we find another intriguing example in the form of the Numbers stations, a series of mysterious radio broadcasts that have been transmitting coded messages since the Cold War era. One such station, known as MDZH, was detected broadcasting on a frequency of 4,625 kHz from an unknown location in Russia. The broadcasts, which consisted of a female voice reading out a series of numbers and codes, were believed to be intended for spy networks, but the exact purpose and meaning of the transmissions remain unclear. The fact that these broadcasts continue to this day, with no explanation from the Russian government, only adds to the enigma surrounding the Numbers stations. In the vast expanse of space, numerous unexplained signals have been detected, leaving scientists and researchers with more questions than answers. One such event occurred in 1977, at Ohio State University's Big Ear Radio Telescope, where a strong, narrowband radio signal was picked up, lasting for a full 72 seconds and originating from the constellation Sagittarius. Signal, and despite numerous attempts to verify its origin, the source of this signal remains unknown. The detection of fast radio bursts, or FRBs, has also been a topic of interest in the field of astrophysics, with one such event occurring in 2007 at the Parkes Observatory in Australia, where a brief, intense pulse of radio energy was recorded, lasting only 5 milliseconds. The unusual aspect of this event is that the burst was followed by a series of weaker bursts, a phenomenon that has not been observed in other FRBs, and the cause of this unique behavior is still not understood. In 2016, astronomers at the Arecibo Observatory in Puerto Rico detected a series of unusual signals, known as peritons, which were initially thought to be of terrestrial origin, but were later found to be coming from outside the Earth's atmosphere. The peculiar aspect of these signals is that they were found to be emanating from the direction of the galaxy Messier 82, and were characterized by a unique, repetitive pattern, unlike any known astrophysical phenomenon, and the origin and purpose of these signals remain a mystery. In the realm of haunted telephone lines, one notable incident occurred in the town of Taos, New Mexico, in the 1990s. Residents began reporting strange, low-frequency humming noises on their phone lines, which were often accompanied by unexplained clicking sounds. The source of the humming, which was loud enough to be heard by people in the vicinity of the phones, was never identified, despite investigations by local authorities and telephone companies. This phenomenon is reminiscent of other instances where telephone lines have been plagued by unexplained sounds, such as the case of the Telstra tones in Australia. In the late 1990s, customers of the Australian telecommunications company Telstra reported hearing a strange, pulsing tone on their phone lines, often when they were on hold or during periods of inactivity. The tone, which was described as a low-pitched humming or buzzing sound, was documented by numerous customers, but its origin was never determined. A similar incident occurred in the United Kingdom, specifically in the city of Bristol, where a series of bizarre telephone calls were made to residents in the 1970s. The calls, which were often made in the early hours of the morning, featured a woman's voice whispering or making strange, unintelligible noises. The calls were investigated by the local police and telephone company, but the identity of the caller and the purpose of the calls were never established. The one detail that remains unexplained is the fact that the calls seemed to be made from a non-existent phone number, which was not recognized by the telephone company's systems. In the town of Taos, New Mexico, in the 1990s, residents began reporting a persistent, low-frequency humming noise that seemed to emanate from nowhere. The sound, often described as similar to the rumble of a distant diesel engine, was heard by numerous people, including a significant number of tourists and visitors. Despite extensive investigations by the Taos Hum Task Force, which included acoustic measurements and surveys, the source of the hum was never identified. The one detail that remains unexplained is the fact that the hum seemed to be audible to certain people, but not others, even when they were standing in the same location. The disappearance of the SSR on Medan, a supposed ghost ship, is often linked to unexplained acoustic events, although the details of this incident are not well documented and should be treated with skepticism. However, a more verifiable example of bizarre acoustic events can be found in the case of the Danakil Depression Whispering Caves in Ethiopia, where, in 2012, a team of explorers reported hearing strange, unexplained whispers and murmurs while navigating the cave system. The caves, located in one of the most inhospitable regions on Earth, are known for their unique acoustic properties, but the source of the whispers remains unknown. The one detail that has never been explained is the fact that the sounds seem to be coming from all directions at once, making it impossible to pinpoint their origin. The London Underground has a long history of strange occurrences, but one of the most bizarre acoustic events took place at the abandoned Aldwych tube station in 2004, when a team of workers reported hearing strange, unexplained music and whispers while working on a renovation project. The station, which had been closed since 1994, was being converted into a film set, and the workers claimed that the sounds seemed to be coming from the old platform areas. Although the station's history and layout have been extensively documented, the one detail that remains unexplained is the fact that the music and whispers seem to be faintly audible, even when all external noise sources had been eliminated, and the workers were wearing ear protection. In the realm of sinister transmissions, one notable event occurred in 1977 at the Two Towers prison in Italy, where a series of strange and unexplained radio broadcasts were picked up by the prison's communication systems. The broadcasts, which lasted for several weeks, featured a mysterious voice reading out names and numbers, but the one detail that has never been explained is the fact that the voice seemed to be aware of the prison's internal operations, often referencing specific events and inmates. As investigations into such phenomena continued, a similar incident was documented in the town of Taos, New Mexico, in the 1990s, where residents reported hearing a low-frequency humming noise, often described as sounding like a distant diesel engine. The source of the hum, which was loud enough to be heard by thousands of people, was never found, despite extensive efforts by scientists and engineers, and the one detail that remains unexplained is the fact that the hum seemed to be able to penetrate even the most soundproofed buildings. In the early hours of August 12, 1985, a bizarre transmission was intercepted by radio operators at the Japanese Ministry of Transport, originating from an unknown location in the Pacific Ocean. The transmission, which lasted for several minutes, featured a strange, distorted voice reciting a series of numbers and coordinates, but the one detail that has never been explained is the fact that the transmission was somehow able to override all other radio traffic in the area, broadcasting its message loud and clear to anyone tuned to the frequency. And when investigators later reviewed the recording, they found that the voice had spoken a single, chilling phrase just before the transmission cut out, a phrase that has been transcribed but never deciphered, and it is the fact that this phrase, Echo 12, we have you, was spoken in a voice that seemed to be responding to a question that was never asked, that remains the most unsettling aspect of this event.